Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oh, sorry. We will have the opportunity to learn and understand more about the latest talent and innovation platform between the five Nordic countries and Malaysia. We express our gratitude and highest thanks to all of you who are able to join this knowledgeable event today. My name is Filza Sharafana, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today. Without further ado, let this event begin with the recitation of Al-Fatiha for the Muslims and for non-Muslims with their belief. Amin, Amin, Ya Rabbal Alameen. To kick off today's event, I am pleased to introduce the audience to the Dean UKM Faculty of Economics and Management, Professor Dr. Aini Aman, Deputy Dean, Partnership and Alumni, Faculty of Economics and Management UKM, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Hakimi Muhammad Shafi'i, Senior Advisor of Nordic Apiary, Mr. Michael Warren, Partner and CSO of Nordic Apiary, Juan Carlos Moritz, Partner and Executive Chairman Nordic Apiary, Mr. Christopher Lindegren, Founder and CEO of Stella Sparks, Esther Yap. Industry players, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedule to join us today. Unfortunately, Mr. Vix Kanagasingam, CEO of Sensoft Digital, could not make it today, but he sent his regards to everyone and hope that this program goes on smoothly without him. As the start of our program today, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Aini Aman for her welcoming speech.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Your English is very great. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Yeah, okay. Welcome to FEP. Is it beautiful? We are renovating the building and the facilities. So lucky to FEP students. Yeah, this is a new room, new hall. We have another one, and renovating more. Yeah. And also welcome to our industry partners, Nordic Apiary. We have our ex-adjunct professor, Michael Warren. We have FEP have been working closely with Michael. University have this chance, so UKM should take this opportunity, and you as a student also should take this opportunity, especially with Nordic Apiary, representative from we got Norwegian countries, right? 5 tops countries. I think you include Finland, Iceland, and several others lah. Yeah, I keep forgetting. My geography is very bad. I have to study that again. Anyway, so we are lucky to have Christopher, Juan, and also Esther with us, and Michael Warren. Of course, our Deputy Dean, Dr. Hakimi, a very handsome guy. Yeah. I'm relying so much on him for networking because I don't have enough time. Anyway, so today we are lucky to have this involved in this digital launch of Nordic Apiary, at UKM, because they are new in Malaysia and they choose UKM as the partner. And you will hear later about how we are going to work with Nordic, how you as a student participate in this program and take the opportunity. Maybe there's a future for you working in Sweden, Norway, Finland or Iceland, okay? Or maybe you can go there or you can choose working from here. Okay, let's hear more about that from them later, and I think I also need to thank the team for organizing this event and wonderful chair lady, and we have Dr. Soleha and Dr. Dahlia as well, So we are in a team to promote this graduate employability program, So where we work closely with industry, provide training, opportunity for you, for your after graduation. But we can start learn at final year, during internship, and also from the lab. Yeah. Okay, I think I'll stop here. Yeah. Let's hear more from others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Aini Aman. Next, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Michael Warren, Senior Advisor of Nordic Aperi, to give his opening remarks.
Hi, good afternoon, Prof. Aini, Dr. Hakimi, and everybody that is here. Yeah. Today, the main purpose is to try to help students connect with Nordic companies. So let me give you a bit of background about myself first. I'm a Malaysian. Jadi everybody look at me, they say, siapa ni Mak Saleh Celup ni? Yeah? So I am a Malaysian. I was born in Terengganu. Yeah? And tapi my father's English, my mother's Malaysian. So I decided that Malaysia was home. So I grew up here, like you guys. We all studied here in Malaysia, went to university and so on. And later in life, I started working for big multinational companies. I had worked for banks. I was the CEO of quite an interesting bank overseas. I was the head of a telecom company overseas. I've lived and worked across multiple places in Asia Pacific. I lived in Singapore, I lived in Indonesia, I lived in Hong Kong, I lived in New Zealand. But after a number of years, I never gave out my Malaysian passport. Kerana I kata, if you're a Malaysian, one day you always want to serve Malaysia. So in 2008, at the age of 45, I retired. 45, I said, okay, dah kerja cukup. I have enough money and I don't need to do more work. Now I want to come and try to give back to the country. So masa tu, that's when I started to come back to Malaysia. And when I came back to Malaysia, first of all, they said there was a gentleman called Dato' Idris Jala. Some of you will know him. He called me. He used to be the head of Malaysian Airlines, head of Shell. Then he went to the Prime Minister's office. So masa tu, Idris Jala called me. I was in Singapore. Dia kata, Michael, what you do in Singapore? I said, ada pension. Pension doing what? I said, pagi I main golf. Afternoon I pergi ronda-ronda. Evening I have parties. Dia kata, what are you doing in your life? I said, well, I retired already. Dia kata, why don't you come back to Malaysia and then try to make Malaysia a better place? So I said, come back to Malaysia, buat apa? He said, join the government. I said, alamak, join the government pula. This one, the way we operate also very scary. By the way, today 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. New Prime Minister, okay, but we'll see how long lah. Mereka tukar, so susah. But, so I said, when I said come back to join the government, so I said, okay, but Idris Jala also told me, he said, Michael, and he was laughing also, he was chatting, dia kata, as a Malaysian, you can sit outside and you can baling batu, you can throw stones at the government and criticize the government. Or you can come and join the government and make the government a better place, make Malaysia a better place. And I was thinking about it for the future of our country. This is what really we want, to make Malaysia a better place. So I came back and I joined the government. I worked for MDEC in Cyberjaya. I worked for Invest KL under MITI. And I did that for a number of years. Now, when I was in that situation, I was in charge of investments to bring international companies to Malaysia. And one of the things I used to wonder about, it's a nice story to tell people, datang kat Malaysia, come and set up here and all that. But it's better to go out and meet the people, the CEOs, the main decision makers all over the world, to say, if you came to Malaysia, why did you come to Malaysia? Shell, BP, Schlumberger, all the big companies of the world, you came to Malaysia, why did you come to Malaysia? They said, I spoke to many of the CEOs, 600 CEOs, and they said the reason we came to Malaysia was because of your people. Your talent that you have in Malaysia, the people that you have in Malaysia are fantastic people. They understand different cultures, they speak different languages, they are different races. They are very well established to work in a global economy. So from that perspective, that's when I started to engage with universities. And UKM was the first university. Prof. Aini and myself, we started working almost 10 years ago to try to say, all the students that graduate from university, how to make you practically useful to companies. Because one of the things when I spoke to international CEOs, I said, how do you think about Malaysian students? He said, dia kata, oh, Malaysian students very smart, all straight A's and all that. Tapi kadang-kadang you ask them to do Excel or something, tak buat. So I said, macam tu susah. You know, because you might be theoretically smart, but practically, if you cannot fit into a company, then it's a problem. Yeah. So in this situation with Nordic Apiary has done this before. They've taken these companies and they've taken hundreds of companies to China. It's a business model that is very proven. Juan used to work in China, live and work there for 8 years. He speaks fluent Mandarin, Chinese and all that. Chris used to run IBM Nordics. Nordics is 5-6 countries. The whole of IBM was under his territory, you know, and not only IBM but many other things. Today he represents some of the wealthiest families in the Nordics. These families want to send companies to Asia. So we are sitting on a very lovely situation. Companies, big companies coming out to Asia, looking for Malaysians to work for them, but they don't really want you to go to Europe to work. They prefer if you can stay here and become their representatives in Malaysia. You know, that gives us all a big opportunity. You become their ambassador, you work for them, you help them when they come down. When they have events, you help them. You know, this is what this program is about today. You know, there are 2 programs, and I will leave it to the other audience, other speakers to go into this. You know, but it is a fantastic opportunity. And doing it with UKM, I mean, just last week, UKM signed dengan 38 Indonesian universities, yeah? And then UKM has also signed with Japanese universities. They set up in Doha. Prof. Aini went there and set up. And when I was working with UKM as an adjunct professor, we also had agreements with the US and so on. So UKM is a very progressive university. You know, it looks at students and expansion on the international scale. So this is what this whole thing is about today. Yeah. So thank you very much. Biasa when I start talking, I don't stop talking. Susah. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warren. I guess you make the audiences really comfortable with your speech. Okay, so now I humbly welcome Juan Carlos Moritz, partner and CSO of Nordic Apiary, to start off the Nordic Asean Innovation, or for short, NAI presentation. Please give a round of applause.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? So, yeah, my name is Juan Carlos Maurits. I'm from Sweden, which is one of the 5 countries that the Nordics consist of. So, we heard Prof. Aini trying. Let's try again. So, Sweden, the Nordic countries. Okay, we know Sweden. What other country do you think it is? Norway? Finland? Denmark? Iceland. There we go. You got it. We got them. We know where it is. We know where we are. Great, great. And yes, like Michael said, this is a program, this is a project, an initiative and an ambition to connect the 5 Nordic countries with Malaysia and also the larger ASEAN. And I'm happy to see that we today already started to connect people who haven't met before. We have our friends from the Faculty of IT and Sciences, first time being here, meeting with the economics. So I think we're already beginning to connect here. But I will briefly try to be brief in introducing you to what Nordic ASEAN Innovation is and how you will could interact with it, and also what kind of projects will come out of it. So if we can start the slides here. Very briefly about the Nordics. So me and Christopher, we're Swedish, both of us. We're Nordics. We like to tap ourselves on the shoulder and say that we're quite good in Sweden and in the Nordics. But actually, there is some numbers and facts to back that up, that the 5 Nordic countries are actually the world innovation leader region in globally. And here are some numbers. I don't need to go through them all, but basically it's the world's most digitized region in the world. If you look just in a European comparison, you'll see that within the EU Commission itself, they deem the 5 Nordic countries as the most innovative countries in all of Europe. And also we have the highest efficiency of energy in any region in the world. And this is also, of course, because we're very innovative. So these are all kind of like the value proposition, what we come and offer. We come and offer skills, experience, and technology. And we would like to work together with Malaysians to do that here in ASEAN, but also to the globe. Next slide. So you can press one more time, I think. Yeah. So when we look at ASEAN and Malaysia, what we as foreigners can see here, the opportunities we can see, I think you can all read up here, but I'll go through it very quick. So ASEAN is the 5th largest, if you put ASEAN, all the countries together, it's the 5th largest economy in the world. And if we look at the geopolitical changes that are happening in the world with China, US doing the decoupling, we see the war in Europe now in Ukraine, and other geopolitical changes, suddenly your area has become prime and very interesting for European companies, because we, especially Nordic companies, we don't have our own market. We're so small. We need to grow our companies globally, and that's why we call ourselves Born Global, because we don't have our own market. And here, ASEAN is becoming probably, according to our view, if you look at the world right now, it could be potentially the guarantor for global growth for the next 20 years. Because suddenly this region has become a very stable region in comparison to other places. So that's what we look at here. And then we look at Malaysia. Again, like Michael was saying, you guys are quite unique. Honestly, you're not just special in Asia, you're unique. There's no other country in all of Asia that is so international as you are. And that's thanks to your unique demography of, you have the Malay, you have the Chinese, and you have the Indian, but you also have others. And when we look at Asia, we of course look at China, India, Indonesia as the big markets. And here we can find representatives and people who understand all of those markets. So that's why we see Malaysia as a perfect landing hub for bringing international companies into ASEAN and APAC. So there are great opportunities, but there are also a lot of challenges. The main challenge is information. There's a very lack of awareness in the Nordics, I think, about Malaysia and ASEAN. People don't really know where Malaysia is. They might think that it's a part of Singapore, or that the Petronas towers are in Singapore or something like this. And especially when it comes to talents, young Nordic talents, and also startups that wants to go global. They might see Southeast Asia mainly as beaches and palms and nice tourist places, which it's also the case. You have beautiful nature and great culture here. But sadly, the awareness of the opportunities here are not really spread, the information. I'm not so sure how much you know about the Nordics, but I guess at least the connections, your connections to the Nordics, the opportunities to meet people like me and Christopher and others who are from the Nordics, I guess those are quite few here. So those are the challenges. It's the lack of awareness and lack of meeting points, and together these two can actually create a lot of opportunities. So Nordic ASEAN innovation. Nordic ASEAN innovation, you can briefly put it into 4 missions. So one is, the main mission is to create events. And through these events, we can put together individuals with opportunities. We can put together ASEAN and Nordic countries and actors together to do things. And that's what we're doing by increasing the meeting points. So by increasing the spread of events, the accessibility of these events, because that's also another problem. Most of the multilateral and bilateral work that is happening between ASEAN and the Nordics is happening between government agencies and between large corporates. What we want to create basically is we want to democratize that. We want people, young people, early stage actors, startups and innovators to be connected at an earlier stage. So we want to ease that. And very importantly, we want to put youth, we want to put you guys in the forefront, driving this development and steering this. So that's where talent and internationalization, youth empowerment comes into Nordic ASEAN innovation. So there are going to be 4 main activities that this organization is going to start doing from Kuala Lumpur, growing to Sweden, growing to Vietnam, growing to Norway, and so on to the other countries that we're looking at. But it's basically, to put it simple, 4 things that we will start with. One is a global zone, we call it. That's going to be a networking event that we do here in Kuala Lumpur, together with MDEC, Miranti, UKM, APU is another university we're working with, and a lot of the different startup funds, the Malaysian startup funds here. And what we're going to do here is we want to create a welcoming environment that actually, where we bring valuable professionals like Michael, like Esther, like Christopher, like Dr. Kimi, to meet with you guys, to meet with young talents and to meet with young startups. Then we have the Digital Nomads program that is about bringing Nordic developers here so they can potentially start working with you guys here and maybe build companies from Malaysia to the world. And also speaking about bringing companies, Nordic ASEAN Technology Mission, here is where we as an investment company, a Nordic Apiary, where we want to bring our portfolio companies into the region. We want to bring them in delegations. And here in these delegations, there's opportunities for internships, for you guys to work with these companies as they come here. And then, of course, we want you guys to go and study in Sweden, in the Nordics. Today, me and Christopher, we met with your ambassador in Stockholm before we came here last year. And she told us that there's only 5 Malaysian students in all of Sweden, while there is about 1,000 Vietnamese students in Sweden. So we need to get Malaysians to come to the Nordics, and we need to get Nordic students to come here, and so we can start at an early stage. Next. A short draft of what's going to happen, and I think it's quite exciting because basically what you're going to see here, and if you also participate, you're really going to be part of a startup. If you participate, you're going to participate in building this organization. If you are joining just as an event, as a community member, you join events and you will see this. You will see how this will grow from Malaysia to the Nordics and ASEAN. And here is just a brief timeline of where we start. Next. And like Michael said, we have done this before. I'm going to give you one example, which is China. When Nordic China Startup Forum, as this organization is called, when it was at this peak in 2019, we had 18 city teams in 18 different cities in 6 countries, all over China, all over the Nordics. And these teams were all run by students. They were run by Nordic and Chinese students working together with local government, local industry players and the startup ecosystem, and they created over hundreds of events annually in all these places. Some of them were big, where they brought delegations of companies where we worked with them. Some of them are small, where there's just students peer-to-peer, but it's all being a very big community. And that's what we want to replicate here, starting here in Kuala Lumpur with ASEAN and Nordics. One thing that we did, Nordic Apiary, we said to all these cities, teams, let's create a program where we bring Nordic companies. And through this program, Nordic China High Tech Weeks, we brought 200 companies into China. And what the students did is that they arranged the events. We, of course, supported them, and our partners in these cities, government and industry players, supported them. But it was the students who arranged these events. And it was the students who acted as business assistants to these companies as they arrived, as they prepared to arrive, and as they arrived in China. And then the students were together with them. So again, this is I want to show you the potential by showing what we have done before in the great country China. So I think that's it for me now. I will come back telling you a little bit about how you can apply, because we are opening the application today. Today is the first official event of this newly born baby called Nordic Asean Innovation.
So thank you, Mr. Juan. So when Juan mentioned internship just now, I see a lot of people are really interested, and I know there's a lot of final student here, so I really hope that you guys could, not just only listen, but have a hope to enter the application that we'll show just now. So next, I would like to welcome Mr. Christopher Lundegren, partner and executive chairman, Nordic a priori, to share his part on the nation's development software talent employment challenge. You're welcome.
Great. Nice to see you all. I will tell you a little bit about one of the initiatives we're working with right now, and it's all about talents. And to be more specific, it's about, the focus is software talents. And that's me. But here is the story. Here is the story. So one of the projects we are working with is a Swedish company called Nation, nation.dev. The reason why the company is named Nation is because they see the software company, or the software community, not the company, the software community global provides an opportunity for software developers, programmers, coders to verify their competence, see where they are as being employable or not, or if they are not employable, what they need, what skills do they need to add to be employable. Data-based, unbiased knowledge verification that support global recruitment. So next slide, please. And short about the Nordics, Juan said it, worth repeating. The Nordics, the 5 Nordic countries, is not only the most prosperous region in the world, it's also the most digitalized region in the world. And what has happened there, that situation has created a huge shortage of competence, of talents in Northern Europe. Only the capital of Sweden, Stockholm, where I am from, has had previous quarter a shortage of 75,000 developers. And are we talking about Northern Europe, the shortage is around 1 million. So the demand is huge. Next slide, please. So what Nation is providing is a digital platform that does the matchmaking between global talents and Nordic companies. That's the starting point. It takes care of everything from the finding to verify the knowledge to upskilling and reskilling, and then the final employment. Next slide, please. So the purpose with the Nation project is to make sure that Nordic companies can benefit from employing the best person in the world, regardless of where that talent is. And it's not about relocation, that's important to say. It's about actually providing with distributed team, providing global talents the opportunity to actually stay in the city where they are born, get a well-paid job for a Nordic company, and also staying and contributing to their own country. Next slide, please. So, with that said, the program that Juan previously mentions is about validate your software skills and gives you an opportunity to rank yourself in a very practical way against the world-leading software talents. And the software platform consists of around 45,000 different tests. That's the most used tests in Northern Europe. So each and every result is verified in comparison with an average result made by around 150,000 Swedish developers. So it's not about getting approved or not approved or getting a certain grade or something. The test only gives you the answer that with your skill set today, in which way are you employable by a Nordic company? And how we answer the question, employable or not employable, is by comparison your skill set against 150,000 Swedish developers that has previously done the tests. Very initiative, very easy. It's a cloud-based testing platform. Go there, follow the instructions. There is some career path. Are you going for full stack or something else, or different programming languages? And yeah, it's self-explanation around it on the testing side. And how to join this? It's open the 5th of December, and the deadline in this first cohort is January 25th. And the purpose with this pilot is to, in cooperation with the university, to get a first view, data-based view of how we position that. That will we, together with the university, later see the number of students that is immediately employable, or is there a need for upskilling and reskilling programs in comparison with this? So it's a very practical program. So you will get more information from your faculty about this, and basically there is some information around it, but basically you will get a URL code, and you click on that URL, and then you're there. Yes. So, with that said, I was supposed to have do this point tillsammans with Vix, but now it's only me. Problem with that. I will just talk about Malaysia as and the potential Malaysia has as being the talent hub in APAC, Asia Pacific. And let's start with the companies, and then coming back to how you fit in as individual young talents in this. As I said, the Swedish company, the Nordic companies are well known. You probably know about IKEA. I've seen that here in KL. H&M and companies like that. Of course, founding a company like IKEA or H&M in Stockholm or in Sweden is pretty pointless. We are only 10 million people. So we have for the last 50 years truly been born global. Each and every company that starts is thinking about the global market immediately. And looking on Asian or Asia, of course, that's a huge market. Previously numbers show that if you took Southeast Asia and including China in that, if you took enterprise software, you can see that the growth in that market is as big as the rest of the globe together, 2025 to 2035. So there is a huge market potential here. And of course, this is what the Nordic company sees. That's one aspect. The second thing, of course, is the talent, because the companies, the R&D business is, of course, headquartered in Stockholm, Copenhagen, Helsinki. However, in the pandemic, it shows that you actually don't need to be in the same room. In the Nordics, we have known it for a long time, but actually the pandemic has really put a fast forward on proving that you can actually have your core team members somewhere else. For example, in Kuala Lumpur. So that's the second thing. And since the need of new talents, of new software developers is so huge in the Nordic region, a talent hub like Kuala Lumpur is a perfect fit, because we are convinced that we will find really, really skilled people here, young talents. The second thing, with the benefit of that, is that if you have parts of your core team here, if you already have parts of your R&D, your software factory here in Kuala Lumpur, then you are actually also established in the region. And it's much easier to grow from your 20 developers to add a business developer or promote some of these young talents to actually become a business developer. If you have a Chinese heritage, I think definitely China will soon again be a very interesting market. Indonesia, Malaysia, of course, in itself is a growing economy. And those things that Juan previously talked about, the importance of actually knowing your market. So that's enormously the second benefit for Nordic companies, North European companies, I would say, to have Malaysia as a springboard to the Asian market. And this opens up lots of opportunities for you as an individual talent. Then, of course, beside of all the skill sets you have here, you should, of course, value your language skills, develop them even further. And then, of course, it's also about the adoption a little bit to like the European way of working. And by participating in programs, that's NAI, you will learn about that, because that's also a cultural bridge that needs to be built. And also, as a fresh student working for a North European company for a couple of years will give you a really good foundation. Really good foundation. And that also, I think, will also be very important of building the local tech ecosystem here in Malaysia. Because I am convinced that some of those has been working for a fast-growing global software company that is conquering the world, and Asian, a couple of years down that road, will also be entrepreneurs here locally. And with that said, I also must say that for a Malaysian company that wants to go global, I think that the Nordic region is a perfect springboard. I think it's actually think it's a really bad idea for a Malaysian company to go directly to USA. It's a huge market, it costs a lot of money, but if you're going to the Nordics, it's in much more controlled way. A Malaysian company can do it in a much more well-planned way. And if it works in the Nordics, then it will be easy peasy in USA, for example. And same thing with the rest of Europe. Start in the north, and then you can just roll out your software south in Europe. So I think this is an excellent way of entrepreneurship. And combined, all of these things is, I would say, the reason for why we are seeing the huge potential in Malaysia of becoming a talent hub in the APAC region. Give me some applause. Ah. The purpose was that you were saying, oh, wow, I'm going to be a tech entrepreneur. I will conquer the world. Now I can say it. Super. Great. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lundegren, and for giving his insight and actually sharing about Malaysia potential as APAC or Asia Pacific Talent Hub. And I think Dr. Hakimi has his insight towards this topic as well, but specifying in the Nordic ASEAN at UKM. So I invite Dr. Hakimi to give his insight on this topic.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Very good afternoon to all. Professor Aini, our Dean of FAP, and our lecturers, Dr. Dahlia, Dr. Hafiza, Mr. Christopher and Mr. Juan from Nordic, from Sweden, Mr. Michael Warren from Batu Gajah, Perak. Do you know Batu Gajah? This is my first time I met Easter, right? All right, she will introduce herself. And my good friend from Faculty of FTSM, Deputy Dean for same portfolio with me, Dr. Hizam and also Dr. Lam. And most importantly, our students. All right, so I want to share with you by quoting, and I really convinced now when I met Jack Ma in 2015. I keep repeating about this thing, Mr. Christopher and Mr. John, including Mr. Michael Warren. I met Jack Ma during the Former Leaders Forum 2015 in Hangzhou at his place, at his headquarters. He mentioned about three things: globalization, big data, rural development. So based on what Mr. Juan and Mr. Christopher mentioned, I believe that our students can be global citizen, truly global citizen, by using the data, all the things that be initiated by our dean, for instance, digital economy, and by using any technology from our Faculty of Technology and Science Maklumat, right? So based on that, I have four things that I want to share with you. The first one related to internship. Theoretically speaking, internship is all about professional learning experience. So if you go to internship, if you are doing more than 25% clerical works, that's the indication that you are moving towards disaster. I will regard that. If you are doing more than photocopy, you go as the postman, etc. So that is abuse the principles of internship. So basically, based on my first slide, I want to highlight, please select and please do the true assessment to get a better place for internship. Because in UKM, we have two objectives. The first one related to income generation, and the second one graduate employability. In FEP, these two objectives under my portfolio. So based on my understanding as a Deputy Dean of Prof. Aini. So graduate employability, basically in UKM we have four elements, four pillars. The first one related to our networking. Dr. Izam tahu lah ni. Okay? Networking for our students internship. The second one about our characteristics of our students. For instance, when our dean appraised with English language of our chair lady, so that's a good indication for our student. The third one related to our academic program. And the fourth one, the system. So perhaps Mr. Juan and Mr. Christopher can share your system with us. So internship is all about professional things, and please take it seriously. And therefore, from the internship, please, let's move based on that. We want to ensure that our student can get soft skills, technical skills. This is based on what I get from our networking with KPMG. So based on that, we can get the interest, insight, etc. And then we are moving towards graduation. So that's the first one. And what we want to highlight about our internship in the FAP, let's move. That's the second part of my presentation for 5 minutes, hopefully, Mr. Juan. So basically, we have BBA program, economy program, and also accounting program. So I believe all these three programs, gawat macam mana pun, whatever crisis that we face, we still need economics, still need business, we need accounting. So I believe that our students are really capable to fit in whatever situation and condition that we face in this world. All right, so you can see that. All right, and moving towards that Nordic model. Nordic model, basically for me, this is my understanding, how to link and sync between economy and social welfare. So if we have people said welfare state, so absolutely based on what's been said by Mr. Christopher is absolutely Nordic. So how to link between the economic benefits to their people, but bear in mind you have to pay tax more than 50%, right? In order to get free, you have to pay. So only for me at the moment, Nordic state give balance between economy and social benefits. So we have to learn from Nordic, and basically I move to my fourth point. Nordic and Malaysia, ada yang tahu lah kot, IKEA. Basically, we have three things. I think I should mention this to you all. The first one, what do we have? I keep mention, new economic policy or dasar ekonomi baru. Kenal pakcik ni? Tu pakai selempang Tan Sri tu, Mr. Michael. Okay, Masri is the second one. Okay, I want to say about the first one, new economic policy. Dasar ekonomi baru. Boleh Google lah lepas ni. The first guy itu adalah, he is a Norwegian, Tan Sri Fallon. He's a Norwegian, of course Norway is part of Nordic. So Tan Sri Fallon is the one of the people that assist Malaysia after we faced riot in 1969. Our former Prime Minister Tun Razak invited him to assist us. So meaning that in our economy, we have already the policy that blend between economy and social benefits. And one of the issues that we face after riot, absolutely because of inequality. So economy equality is part and parcel of Nordic model of economy. And SDGs now also mention about inequality, pillar number 10, right? So how we blend between these things, and I really hope that our student can, what I want to highlight about Nordic in Malaysia, we are very far geographically, but for me, we already close with Nordic since 1970 in particular. Yesterday, we have 2 guests from Gothenburg University in Sweden. So I just, say hi to them yesterday. And we have our lecturer also got a master from Gothenburg, Dr. Maizatul, Prof. So that's the first one. Since 1970, Tan Sri Fallon, he's already died. And I heard from someone that many resources still there in Norway. So I hope I can explore all countries except Iceland. Too cold. The second one about the education system. Okay, I want to highlight about Mazli, even though he lost recently, right? Okay, Dr. Mazli Malik since 2018 already mentioned about how Malaysia can learn from Finland, right? He met Ambassador of Finland, Datuk Ghazali Abbas is one of them. Maybe we can invite him during his Secretary General of Kementerian Pendidikan masa tu. So education system, how we can learn, and therefore we all tak dapat lah. Anak-anak saya dapat lah, tak ada exam. No exam. I got my degree from Japan. So Japanese kids during 5 years they learn how to cross the road without to really truly know that red is red. You have to stop. But in Malaysia, yellow, you speed up your car, right? Education. Mr. Christopher, Mrs. Wan mentioned about talent. That's the beauty. Mr. Michael Warren mentioned about talent. That's the beauty of our country. So I really convinced what I got during my experience after I got my PhD 2020. And finally, IKEA. What's the beauty of IKEA? Adakah kita pergi IKEA tu nak beli berabut? Tak. Right? Meatball. Absolutely right, Dr. Izam. How you blend between gathering, meatball, good curry puff. Kita baru tahu curry puff tu boleh letak telur kan dalam tu. Right? And then we have a dinosaur curry puff. Then kat road store. So Nordic already close with us basically, Mr. Christopher and Mr. Juan. And I hope our students either from from FTSM and also from AVP conjoin the initiative by Mr. Christopher and Mr. Juan, and what been mentioned by Mr. Michael Warren. And from our secretariat, we are truly support this initiative. And I want to conclude what been said